What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. In today's episode, we're going to talk about ND filters on the Osmo Pocket 3. This is going to make your footage look so much more cinematic. So let's jump into it. When thinking about ND filters, you really want to think about it as sunglasses for your camera. So I am taking those ND filters and I am putting them on directly in front of my camera, and it really is going to kill a lot of the harsh light and allow me to shoot at those slower shutter speeds in order to get that natural motion blur to make my footage look smoother and more cinematic. First off, I want to talk about the ND filters I am using on my Osmo Pocket 3. I am using the ND filters from K&F. I think these K&F ND filters are absolutely incredible. I have been using them for the past 3 months and I've been really happy with the results I've been getting. This little kit here comes with an ND4, ND8, ND16, and ND32. K&F is also a company that has been making ND filters for a long time. They make filters for your DJI drones, they make filters for your normal camera, so they really know what they're doing when it comes to filters. Another thing I do love about these K&F filters is they do not have any color cast with them, so when I'm using them on my Osmo Pocket 3, I do not see a shift into the greens or magentas, which is very common with ND filters. Now I do want to get into whether I think it is worth it to use ND filters or not. I personally shoot a lot of manual mode on my Osmo Pocket 3 and I am trying to get that most cinematic footage as possible. So in order for me to do that, I do have to shoot at a 180-degree angle on my Osmo Pocket 3. So most of the time, if I'm shooting at 24 frames per second, I'm going to want to shoot at 1/50, or if I'm shooting at 60 frames per second, I'm going to want to shoot 1/120 or 125. Now the problem you run into is if I'm shooting during midday when it's so bright out and I have my camera in auto, my camera is going to want to shoot at 1/2000 or 1/1500. It's really going to want to have a fast aperture at that moment in order to get you that perfect exposure. Now when you add an ND filter, let's just say it's mid-noon and it's very bright out. When I add that ND32, I am able to bring that shutter speed back down to 1/50 in order to compensate for that light. Now let's talk about how these ND filters go on your Osmo Pocket 3. It's pretty simple. I just grab it here as shown and then I just pull my camera out and it is going to go on magnetically. And there you go, I have it on my Osmo Pocket 3. This is so impressive. I love that all the filters on the Osmo Pocket attach magnetically. It makes putting on filters very easy, and especially if you're on the go, I don't have to take up that much time to put these filters on. Now, as I mentioned, look how cool this is. I love that I can close my Osmo Pocket 3 with the filter still on here. This is amazing because I can just leave the filter on my Osmo Pocket 3 without worrying. I can put it away, and if I'm shooting during the day, if I'm shooting around noon, I know the sun isn't going to change that much by 2 in the afternoon. I can grab it out and I already have my ND filter ready to rock and roll on my Osmo Pocket 3. Now, as I mentioned earlier, you really want to shoot in manual mode while using an ND filter on the Osmo Pocket 3. This is going to give you the most latitude and most control to really tune in those manual settings so you are capturing the most cinematic footage possible. So I am going to change my settings from auto to manual, and as you can see here, I can change my shutter speed to 1/50, which is perfect for shooting 24 frames per second at 4K, and I'm not blowing out any of my highlights and my shadows are still there. So this is a perfect time of the day to use the ND16 while shooting 24 frames per second. It is around 5 in the afternoon and the sun is starting to set, so I am getting some longer shadows, but it isn't that bright out. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I have not noticed any color cast with these ND filters. These ND filters are amazing. I do not see any shifts in the greens or magentas with my footage, which is very common when using an ND filter on a camera. So I want to talk about when you should be using each one of these ND filters. As I mentioned, this pack I got comes with 4 ND filters, which really covers you throughout your whole day. The ND4 I would start off with in the morning around sunrise, or when the sun is really low in the sky and it's still that blue hour. You don't really need to block that much light at this time of the day. Next, I love using the ND8. I use the ND8 a lot of times when I'm shooting indoors and there's windows and it's a big open space. I was recently in Charlotte when I was going into a lot of different coffee shops, and the ND8 really lent itself nicely for this. I think this is the perfect sweet spot for an ND filter. Most of the time I am leaving ND8 on my camera, and it practically lives on my camera because I am not shooting a lot during midday. And if I am shooting outside, it is going to be near sunset or sunrise. Now, if you're going outside around 2 or 3 in the afternoon and you notice that it's partly cloudy, you could probably get away with the ND16 because you are going to have clouds coming in and out, so you don't want to block all the light coming in. Lastly, let's save ND32 for when you're going out at noon and it's blue skies, super bright out, the brightest time of the day. This is when you're going to want to start using that ND32 filter. But at the end of the day, experiment with these filters and see what works best for you. Again, you're really aiming to get that lower shutter speed so you can follow that 180-degree shutter rule. Now, one con I do see when using ND filters, it is nearly impossible to put it on without getting a fingerprint on there. So I do find myself constantly wiping them down with a microfiber. However, I do not see this as a major con. Awesome, well, thank you again for joining me in this episode. If you want to learn more about shutter speeds, I did a whole video and you can click on it here explaining all the different shutter speeds and when to use them on the Osmo Pocket 3. If you have any questions about ND filters or the Osmo Pocket 3, please ask them in the comment section below. Please like and subscribe to my channel because you know it helps my channel grow. Until next time, peace.